What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? No great. What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another post-game show on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And tonight I'm here riding solo to break down the Kansas City Chiefs 19-8 victory over the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. But first of all, I just got to apologize for that technical difficulty there at the beginning. But like I said, guys, riding solo tonight. Me and Michael Darcy are probably going to do some sort of post-game show / Kingdom Crew episode tomorrow with the two of us. But I definitely wanted to do a quick post-game show tonight, get my thoughts out to you guys. And for those of you that are tuned in, please leave your comments and questions down below, and I will get to those as I talk about this game. Since it's just me tonight, I'll be taking the time to interact with you. And also, if you're feeling generous, you can also leave a super chat. And if you leave a super chat, I will guaranteed address your question or comment on the show. But with all that being said, let's talk about this game. So when we knew this matchup was coming, everyone talked about how bad the Denver Broncos defense is. Statistically, the Denver Broncos have the worst defense in the NFL so far this year. And a lot of us said to ourselves, watch this be a close game, because that's what the Kansas City Chiefs do. Well, what did the Kansas City Chiefs do? They made this a close game against the worst defense in the NFL, against the Denver Broncos team that has already quit on their season. This was a dogfight to the very end. I mean, look, this game was never in doubt. It never felt like the Chiefs are going to lose. But you were sitting there in the fourth quarter, the Broncos score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, and all of a sudden it's 16-8. The Broncos had a chance to tie the game in the fourth quarter. They had a chance, a very small one, but they had a chance. And it really just felt like this game should have been like a 40-0 blowout. And this is the same team that the Miami Dolphins put 70 on a few weeks ago. And I'm not asking for the Chiefs to put up 70, and the Chiefs will never put up 70 on an opposing team, not with Andy Reid as the coach. He's not going to do that. And I said it last week with Michael Darcy. The Kansas City Chiefs are never the sexy regular season team. They never really are. They always win these games ugly, and it was another ugly win tonight. And so I don't want to overreact at all, because you did get the win, and I've learned not to overreact with this team. And like I said, they're never going to be the sexy regular season team. And so, I don't expect them to win this by 35 points. So when everyone was talking about how bad the Broncos defense is and how the Chiefs should put up a bunch of points, I was sitting here like, I don't really expect them to do that. And you could kind of tell with some of the play calling tonight, too, that the Chiefs were really just screwing around. And I hate when they do that, because I just wish that they put a team like this away whenever they can. But yeah, man, 19-8, only one touchdown from the offense tonight. I feel like we kind of got to start with the defense, though, just because they were absolutely dominant tonight. Once again, the defense continues its tear. And look, yes, the Broncos are a bad team, and you realistically should be holding them to under 20 points. But, I mean, only 82 pass yards allowed. Russell Wilson passed for less than 100 yards tonight. I mean, just domination from the pass defense. Only 115 rushing yards. The Broncos only averaged 4 yards per play. 4 sacks for the defense, 3 total takeaways. What more can you ask from these guys, especially when they were playing with their backs kind of up against the wall for most of the night, just because the offense wasn't really getting the job done, or Patrick Mahomes would throw an interception or a turnover on downs, and this defense stood up to the challenge. I mean, they did not let the Broncos really get anything. And the one touchdown that they did allow tonight Probably should have never happened, but of course they call a really bad roughing the passer penalty on Mike Edwards, the safety. That is, I mean, as a Chiefs fan, I've seen some bad roughing the passer calls. We've seen probably the worst roughing the passer call in NFL history with that Chris Jones hit on Tom Brady in the 2018 AFC Championship game. But that Mike Edwards roughing the passer call was up there with some of the worst I've ever seen. I don't know what he did wrong. He got there before the ball was even out of Russell Wilson's hand. And he didn't really put his whole body weight on Russell Wilson. It was a perfect form tackle. I really don't know what you want Mike Edwards to do there. That really upset me because the defense was pitching a shutout until then. Just a very unnecessary flag from the refs. And then, of course, I want to put up this first comment from Ryan. He says, I don't want to hear about the Chiefs getting help from the refs or league anymore. Every game, there are 2 to 3 questionable calls on us. It goes both effing ways. And I totally agree. And tonight, I think if you want to point to an example where you can say, hey, the Chiefs kind of got screwed here. The Mike Edwards running the passer penalty that let Denver back in this game. They did not have to throw that flag, but they did. And it was a BS one at that. HFA Recon says this feels like 2018 in reverse. Yeah, just a little bit. I get you why you say that, because it's like you finally get this dominant defense. You finally had this awesome defense for Patrick Mahomes to play with, and it seems like the offense is now out of funk. And it's like, what poor timing to have your worst offense in the Patrick Mahomes era paired with this defense. Now, I do want to reiterate one more time because quite a few of you have jumped in here since I started. It's just me tonight, no Michael Darcy. So please leave your comments and questions down below, and I will get to them as I continue to break down this game. And if you're feeling generous, leave a super chat. It always helps out the channel a lot more than you guys know. So please feel free. HFA Recon also says Harrison Butker player of the game. I mean, offensive player of the game for sure. You have to give it to him just because he was putting up most of the points for this team. Ryan says Harrison does deserve player of the game. Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you there. More about the defense, though. I want to highlight a few players. So I thought the linebackers in general were awesome tonight. This is maybe their best game as a collective unit this season. Drew Tranquil making negative plays in the backfield. Leo Chanel, an absolute monster, almost forced to safety there with that big tackle on, I think it was McLaughlin, one of the Broncos running backs, rather. Nick Bolton in his first game back has an interception. And I got to talk about Nick Bolton real quick because all the freaking time I see hate for this dude, nothing but hate for Nick Bolton all over Twitter and people saying that he sucks and all this. And I got laughed at a couple weeks ago against the New York Jets when I said that this defense misses Nick Bolton because they miss having the green dot on defense. They miss his physicality. The defense is better with Nick Bolton out on the field. And, of course, that first drive, I want to say the first defensive stand for this team, I don't think it was Russell Wilson, but somebody, ball carrier for the Broncos, got a first down. Nick Bolton was the first man to him. I think it was on third down. Nick Bolton gets there. He's the first guy there behind the line of scrimmage. Would have been for a loss. Doesn't make the tackle, but I saw a clear block in the back on the Broncos player. I believe it was their tight end. Just comes and blocks Bolton in the back. And, I mean, that was pretty blatant. And then immediately after, I saw a tweet saying, oh, Bolton sucks. Bolton misses a tackle. And then a couple plays later, gets the interception. And I was so happy for Bolton there because maybe now the haters can finally shut up about Nick Bolton. It pisses me off the way that this fan base treats Nick Bolton. And some of you may not see it, but I see it a lot on social media. Nick Bolton sucks, can't cover, blah, blah, blah. Nick Bolton is not a coverage linebacker. We've acknowledged that at this point. But it's the clowns that constantly blow it out of proportion every single time the dude allows a completion that really irks me. And then he gets an interception. It was so good to see because people had been crapping all over his coverage ability, even though the other linebackers haven't really been great in coverage this year either. Drew Tranquil, to this point, has not been as advertised in coverage. And I don't get the hate for Nick Bolton, man. All the time people feel the need to make it known their stance on Bolton, and I don't understand. He constantly makes negative plays in the backfield. He's a great player. He comes up clutch with some of his huge third down stops. I don't get it. I don't get the hate for Bolton, and it really pisses me off. Nathan Barnes, what's up? Good to see you, man. He says McDuffie will go down as a legend of this franchise, barring injury. Yeah, he's been absolutely shut down this year. I know he had to come out of the game for a little bit due to injury, but just continues to be shut down because he rarely ever gets targeted, and that's a really good thing. Jalen Watson, though, I thought he was terrific tonight. I thought the refs were being a little bit ticky-tack on the pass interference when he was guarding Cortland Sutton and got a PBU. I thought they should have left that untouched, and that would have been his second PBU of the night. Maybe no, his third, because he was knocking a lot of passes down. And that's why I have him written down in my notes. Jalen Watson was fantastic tonight, maybe his best game as a Kansas City Chief. Justin Reed as well had his first interception as a Kansas City Chief tonight. Whole defense was really getting after it. George Karlaftis batted down another pass tonight. Really like the way that he's matured. He's been elite at batting down passes, and he was not known as a guy coming out of Purdue that was batting down all these passes at the line of scrimmage. But that's what Karlaftis does, man. He bats down passes, and it's fun to watch. He just his timing and everything. And this Chiefs defense has been knocking down a lot of passes. Guys that aren't defensive backs, like their linebackers, jumping at the line of scrimmage to try and bat these passes down. You saw it towards the end of the game there. Or no, not towards the end of the game. On Justin Reed's interception, Willie Gay, he was the one that knocked that ball in the air and gave Justin Reed a chance to intercept that. So I really like seeing the aggressiveness from this defense to try and bat that ball down to the air before it even gets to the intended target. Ryan says, thanks for always making time for the post-game lives, man. I can't stay long, but it's always fun to stop by when I can. Hey, man, and I appreciate it. And this is why I do it for you guys, and it's fun. So I appreciate you stopping by, even if it's not for the entire thing. And, I mean, you can always come back and watch the whole thing later. Bolton is a dog. Yeah, I agree. Defense, man, it continues its dominance. And tonight was a little bit of a bounce-back game from the pass rush, too. Again, 4 sacks. I know Chris Jones had another one. Continues his Defensive Player of the Year campaign. And a lot of their sacks were without the front four or without blitzing tonight. It was from the front four. And there were a couple more times where they should have brought him down. There was one at the beginning that Mike Dana should have had. You got to bring him down, Dana. And Russell Wilson was in his grasp and somehow got it out. But, I mean, it didn't really matter because Russell Wilson, he didn't do anything, really. I mean, passed for less than 100 yards. I'll pick up his stats right here. 13 to 22 for 95 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Terrible. The Broncos were 4 of 10 on 3rd down. Went for it on 4th down 1 time, didn't get it. Ran 49 total plays, 4 sacks allowed. They punted 5 times, a fumble as well. They got absolutely demolished in the time of possession battle. Chiefs had the ball for almost 36 minutes. Broncos only had it for 24. So defense, man, it's been awesome. But we have to get to the offense. And HFA Recon says Justin Ross deserves more time and opportunities. I agree, especially in the red zone with how much this team struggled in the red zone tonight. And I definitely thought, especially in preseason, that Justin Ross was a guy that could help them in the red zone. But they're really just not intent on giving him snaps for whatever reason. Got the Texas Tech Cup tonight. Mahomes' alma mater. I actually picked this cup up from a dollar store on vacation in Florida. I just saw it was this cheap little dollar store. They had this Texas Tech Cup sitting there, and I was like, why not? I mean, Mahomes went there, right? I noticed again, though, that a bunch of you just joined, so please, if you just joined, leave your comments, questions down below. I will get to them in this post game. If you're feeling generous, leave your super chat. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. If you hit that like button, it helps me get found. It gets more people in here. So really appreciate if you guys could do that for me. Ryan Horse talking about Bolton again. Yep, agree. He is a dog. Amani says, finally, I get to rant without getting timed out. I'm going to start off by saying offense looks terrible. Andy just can't learn to stop doing all these cute plays. And my God, the defense was balling. And I agree with you on absolutely everything, Amani, because the defense was balling. And in my notes, I had just kind of the very loose play calling, the very unserious play calling, because that's really the only way you can describe it, is just unserious with some of these play calls that they threw out there tonight. And the short yardage offense has again become an issue. And I'm willing to give them just a little bit of a pass tonight because it seems like they were just trying out whatever, just kind of trolling the Denver Broncos a little bit. They knew they could win this game without really giving their 100% effort. And I mentioned that at the very beginning. I hate when they do that. It's stupid because towards the end of the game there, you were kind of in danger a little bit. And I feel like this team should be taking these games just a little bit more seriously. And I get winning with style points isn't super important, and the Chiefs aren't the sexy regular season team, but I'd like to see you put away these teams a lot earlier than you did tonight. Like, why not go out there with your 100% effort in the first 3 quarters, and then you can take your starters out in the fourth? Wouldn't you rather have that than those guys out there playing the entire game against a team that you should be demolishing? Like, this is the worst defense in the league. And the play calls on the 3rd and short and the 4th down, awful. There was an option play they ran with Kadarius Toney, and he should have handed it off to Pacheco, tried to run it instead. That went nowhere. They even had a play where Kadarius Toney was playing quarterback, nearly throws an interception. I mean, good on Toney for actually throwing it pretty accurately to give Jerick McKinnon a shot to catch it, but still dangerous and just unnecessary. And then by far the worst play of the night, I thought, was the fake field goal where you have, I believe it was Noah Gray, one of the tight ends, takes the snap and tries to sneak it from 2 yards. Like, okay, first of all, like, a sneak is more of a 4th and 1 scenario. I know, like, the Eagles can run it from 2 or 3 yards out, and they usually get it. But you're doing it on okay, if you're going to go for it, just do it with 15. Do it with your offense. Leave your offense out there and have them try to get the 4th down. I hate this stupid stuff that we do. This is my biggest complaint, is that in the biggest moments, this team likes to take the ball out of its best player's hands. If you're going to go for it, do it with your offense. Do it with the MVP. Don't do it with Kadarius Toney and the Wildcat. Don't do it on some stupid fake field goal where you sneak it from 2 yards out. I do have one thing to say about the sneak, though, even though I don't like the play call. I thought they should have rewarded the second effort on that, because every time the Philadelphia Eagles run that, I feel like they're always given like 5 seconds and they're given the second effort attempt to try and get the first down. If the refs had let that play go till the end of the second effort, that should have been a first down, but whatever. I digress. Ryan Horst says, I agree, Amani. Save that stuff for when our wide receiver core develops further. And Amani also threw in that I don't even know if it's Matt Nagy calling these horrible plays or if it's on Reed himself. And also prayers to Jay Watt. Talking about Justin Watson, he did injure, I think it was his elbow, forearm, somewhere around there, maybe wrist. It's kind of hard to tell. The broadcast threw out a few different suggestions, but hopefully he's okay. They did rule him out pretty quickly. Hopefully he's okay, because so far he's been this team's best wide receiver by the numbers. And it's shocking that we're saying that 6 weeks into the season that Justin Watson has been the team's best wide receiver, but he has, and now you may have just lost him for a little bit, because that injury looked painful enough. It looked bad enough that he may need to go on IR, which would mean that he's out for at least the next 4 games. But we'll see what happens there. I'm sure Andy Reid's probably addressed it already, but I'm not looking at Twitter right now. I'm getting his quotes from the post-game presser. It was a pedestrian day for the offense. Struggled in the red zone, only 1 touchdown. The rest were field goals by Harrison Butker. But Mahomes did have 300 yards passing, which it's like one of those games where you feel like Mahomes hasn't really played that well, and then you look at the box score, and Mahomes all of a sudden has 300 passing yards, which just goes to show how great Patrick Mahomes is, even though tonight wasn't really a great performance from the offense. Mahomes was 30 of 40 for 306 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. And the interception was god awful. It was very annoying. He did not need to throw that ball. That was just a play where Mahomes was doing too much, just kind of lobbed it up to the back of the end zone when there was no one even open. And then it was picked off by Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos, the safety. No one even close to open. Sometimes Mahomes just needs to learn to throw it away and not do too much. The coaches need to let him know, hey, you can throw the ball out of bounds every once in a while. Prayers out to Jay Watt indeed. Nathan Barnes. It's just these Kansas and K-State fans that hate on Bolton because he went to Mizzou. Bingo, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I don't want to have to say it, but pretty much. And Ryan says he's a KU and a K-State fan, and even he can admit that Bolton is a beast. So, I mean, respect. Edwin says the offense is trash. Let's open the eyes, Chiefs Kingdom. And yeah, before I go on any further with your guys' comments and questions and stuff, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I said that I don't want to overreact to this team. I don't want to overreact after a win, especially, but it's getting really hard to ignore the offense, to ignore the offensive issues. It's getting really hard to pretend that this team is just going to figure it out, to pretend like we're not supposed to be concerned about this. Like, the offense is bad. It's bad, guys. I mean, the Denver Broncos were the worst defense in the NFL going into this game. And this is back-to-back weeks against really bad defenses, and you didn't even go over 30 points in either game. The Minnesota Vikings had the league's worst pass defense heading into that game against the Kansas City Chiefs in Minnesota, and the Chiefs wide receivers kind of laid an egg in that one. They were okay in the second half, but offense was kind of uninspiring. And then this week, the absolute worst defense in the NFL, the Denver Broncos. Miami put up 70 points on these guys, and you score 19. What is going on, offense? I mean, like, there's so many issues with this team right now on offense, and I don't know what the fix is. I think you have to start with the wide receiver core as far as, like, actually dissecting where this offense is struggling and where the concerns are coming from. Travis Kelce actually had a Travis Kelce game tonight, bum, ankle, and all, 9 catches for 124 yards. So thank God for him and his performance tonight. But looking at the receivers, Rashee Rice is the only guy really doing anything at all. And I got to shout out Rashee Rice too. Starting off with a positive for the receivers. I mean, 4 catches for 72 yards. Absolute beast, eating on those slants, and the acceleration is just so evident with him. And then they had a dump off play. It was 4th and long. It was like 4th and impossible, basically. And Rashee Rice gets that ball, turns upfield so freaking fast that he almost had the first down. He was very close, and I love the effort there from him. But I'm really excited about Rashee Rice, and I think he's continuing to show each and every week that he just needs to be getting more snaps. He needs to be getting all the targets among the wide receivers. He's by far your most talented wide receiver. He has the most upside. He might be your best wide receiver by the end of the season. You just need to keep feeding him, man. And I was super proud of him and what he did tonight. But outside of that, Sky Moore, 2 catches for 22 yards. I'm done with Sky Moore at this point. I'm done waiting on him. I mean, you guys have kind of known that I've been there with Sky Moore. I don't. He just doesn't do anything. Isaiah Pacheco was their 3rd leading receiver with 6 catches for 36 yards. Kadarius Toney did get in the end zone tonight, and that was nice to see from him. I think it's nice to get his confidence up, give him a little bit of a boost, getting him in the end zone. Can we stop giving him the ball in these plays that go absolutely nowhere, though, where there's no blocking, some play behind the line of scrimmage or out in the flats where they give it to Kadarius Toney? He had 2 carries for -5 yards. Like, can we stop the stupid stuff with Kadarius Toney where the plays just go absolutely nowhere? I hate that. And then it looks bad for his stats, too, because, like, I feel like Kadarius Toney is better than that, and we just kind of set him up for failure. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, don't think he even had a catch tonight. Justin Watson didn't have a catch. He had a drop on the play that he got hurt on. These receivers, again, many times tonight when I was watching, seemed like Mahomes was just holding on to the ball because there was nobody open. or he would just kind of go to Travis Kelce. There were a few times where I noticed there were some guys open. There were a few plays where I saw Rashee Rice kind of streaking down the sideline, but Mahomes just decided to go to Kelce instead, which I understand. He does that sometimes when other guys are open, but Travis Kelce, he just trusts the most, and he is that security blanket. But one of the biggest things holding this offense back right now is the wide receiver play, and this team just really lacks a veteran wide receiver, a bona fide number one, and that's the biggest reason why you keep seeing so many stall outs and the red zone too, just not being able to find anybody open. And I know someone mentioned, I already forget, Justin Ross needs to be out there, and I'm like, yeah, especially in the red zone, like that's where Justin Ross needs to be out there. And last week he had 2 catches, and he had a grown man catch, and those are the kind of plays I like to see a bit from a big receiver that you need to be using in the red zone. And I don't even know if he played at all tonight. I mean, I'm sure he was out there, but I mean, obviously didn't really get any targets or catches. Amani says, I effing love Nick Bolton, like no hate at all, but he was not 100%. Yeah, it's another thing too, is like the dude's still coming off an injury of his own, and he looked fine. He was holding his own out there, made a few nice open field tackles. Like, I am just done with the Nick Bolton hate. Kane Wright, I believe you're new. I don't know if I've ever seen you in here before. Apologize if I'm mistaken, but he says Kansas City Chiefs, born and raised in KC, here, but currently live in Thailand. Keep going, bro. Good show, Kansas City Chiefs. Awesome. Good for you, man. Always love when I get viewers from other countries. I always think that is super cool. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate it. And go Chiefs. Chris Kim says, I like to believe that considering how well the defense is playing, I think Andy Reid in a way is holding back a good portion of the play so teams don't have tape when it comes to the playoffs. And you know what? This is an interesting point that you bring up, Chris, because, yeah, Andy can lean on this defense a little bit, and that's not something that he was able to do in the past. And, like, I've acknowledged even tonight on this show that it feels like the Chiefs were kind of jacking around, holding stuff back, weren't emptying the bag against the Denver Broncos. There was no need to. Yes, I wish they had scored more than 1 touchdown and converted in the red zone more and put the Broncos away before the 4th quarter, but the game was never in doubt or anything like that. And this is kind of like we've all been watching the Chiefs long enough to know that this is what they do. Okay. And I've seen some comments about like Matt Nagy and stuff like that. I'm not ready to say anything about Matt Nagy yet. I don't really think this is him. Especially if you looked at some of those play calls tonight, I think that's definitely Andy Reid. And even when Eric Bieniemy was our offensive coordinator, we saw a ton of plays like that, or a ton of games like that, where the offense looks like that. Remember 2021, when we were playing against like the Giants and the Packers and the Cowboys, and the offense just looked lethargic. Eric Bieniemy was our offensive coordinator then. We had Tyreek Hill on this offense then, and that offense it took them a while to get going. It really did. And my one concern, though, about the offense this year and why I don't really like drawing too many parallels to 2021 is because that offense had Tyreek Hill on it. This offense doesn't have a Tyreek Hill, and you have to hope that someone emerges. And if they don't, then you have to make a move outside of the organization. But again, Chris, to your point about not wanting to put stuff on tape, I mean, that I could definitely see that being a thing, especially tonight. You don't need to put everything out there against the Denver Broncos. And yeah, we can lean on this defense. Even when the offense has an off night, you can kind of count on the defense just a little bit to pick up the slack. And that's a luxury that this team has not had in the past. They have not had that basically for the entirety of Patrick Mahomes' career. Nathan Barnes says, not much to hide when it comes to just running it up the middle on 3rd and 1. Yeah, I mean, really. And getting to the running game. Isaiah Pacheco, man, this dude is an absolute warrior running the ball. I know he didn't have a huge stat line tonight, 16 carries for 62 yards, and that's less than 4 yards per carry. But I said this to Michael last week, even after the Minnesota Vikings game, because he didn't have really this huge box score night against the Vikings either. But just the tough runs, the ability to turn some of these runs with less than ideal blocking that, you know, if you gave the ball to Clyde, they go for 1 or 2 yards. With Pacheco, they're going for like 4 or 5, 6 yards. And I think the running game will start to come along a little bit more. They're starting to lean on Pacheco a lot. I mean, they are increasing his workload this year, especially as he started to get healthier. And he also added a lot in the receiving game tonight. Mahomes was able to go to him when the play was kind of broken down, just checking it down to Pacheco, and he was able to get quite a few first downs doing just that. But looking at this team's offensive numbers from the night, 389 total yards of offense, 293 passing, 96 rushing. They averaged 5.6 yards per play, which is, man, only 4 or 14 on third down. And that's pretty atrocious. And that's what kind of killed this team tonight was third down. They weren't able to convert. Mahomes would either get sacked or have to throw it away or something like that. And I'm putting most of it on the receiver play, man, because like I don't even think the offensive line was really an issue tonight. I know Jawan Taylor had a holding penalty. I think someone else, Donovan Smith had one as well. But it's not like the offensive line was letting up a bunch of pressure or killing the offense with penalties. I just think that the receivers got to get open, man, and they're not getting open at a frequent enough rate for Mahomes to feel like he can chuck the ball downfield to anybody. And he did get a couple big plays tonight, one to Rashee Rice. There was another where he was able to draw a DPI targeting Sky Moore, but he got kind of lucky because it was a DPI, but Sky Moore had no chance at that ball, even without the DPI. At least that's my opinion from the angle that I was looking at on TV. HFA Recon says Chris Jones is getting paid this offseason. I still rather pay him because he's that valuable to this defense. And I'm with you, man. Like, I've been on that same boat for the longest time now. I feel like a lot of fans are doing a 180 from what they thought about Chris Jones when he was in the middle of his contract holdout. I know it's really hard for Chiefs fans sometimes to accept when a player wants to hold out and get their money, but Chris Jones deserves it because he just takes his defense to another level. And he had another sack tonight. I think he's up to like 5 on the year already, 5.5. And he didn't play in week 1. And I'm willing to bet that he would have had a sack in week 1 too. The dude would have been at 6 sacks already by now. And it sucks that he had to miss week 1, but I'm glad we have him back now. Can't say enough about Chris Jones and his dominance. Go Chiefs says, that's right. We got to keep it 100. Mahomes said right in the interview after the game, if they execute on the little things, they will be a solid offense. And I mean, yeah, like, that's another thing too is it's not like the offense has hit their ceiling yet. Like they will improve on some stuff. Some of the receivers will emerge, or maybe it'll just be Rashee Rice. I don't know, but like guys are going to emerge. They're going to figure some stuff out as the season goes on. Like these guys have done it too many times to not know how to figure out how to be competent on offense. Like it's hard to believe that they're going to be like this all year long. But that said, I do think they have a receiver problem right now, and I don't know if or when it's going to be fixed or if the solution is within this current wide receiver group. And that's the biggest thing that I'm going to keep harping on going forward is I just don't think this team has enough at wide receiver right now. That's just my opinion. I mean, and a lot of it has been because Sky Moore has just not been very good. And they were expecting him to take a huge jump this year. There was actually a clip on Twitter from James Palmer of NFL Network. And if you guys know who James Palmer is, he's very well connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's kind of a mouthpiece for the Chiefs brass a little bit. He says a lot of things that come directly from the Chiefs front office and from within the organization. And in his pregame show today, he specifically mentioned how the Chiefs were expecting a big jump from Sky Moore this year and that he's struggling to beat man coverage. And we all knew that already, but to hear him say that is that's harsh. Like that's brutal because that's coming from the Kansas City Chiefs. Like even the Chiefs are at this point saying, yeah, Sky Moore, he's not giving us what we expected. And that there's a huge wrench into things. Nathan Barnes says, we'll say Broncos red zone defense has actually been pretty good this year. They just get gashed for long TDs. And I mean, there's still players on this Broncos defense from Broncos defenses in the past that were very dominant because if you guys go and look at Mahomes' career numbers against the Broncos, he is not very good against the Broncos defense. He hasn't been for most of his career. He struggled against Denver's defenses. Denver's been one of the only defenses that can keep Mahomes in check for an entire game. But the recurring theme in all these Chiefs versus Broncos games is that the Denver offense has been so freaking bad, so terrible that it does not matter and the Chiefs still win these games. If the Broncos had a legit offense, yeah, sure, the Chiefs would have lost a game to the Broncos in the last 6 years, 7 years, however long it's been. And I should note that it's 16 straight wins over the Denver Broncos after the Kansas City Chiefs victory tonight. And according to Ian Rappaport, that is the longest active winning streak over one team in the NFL right now. No team has a longer winning streak over an individual team than the Kansas City Chiefs have over the Denver Broncos right now. Cash Young says it's time to start scheming and making plays for Rice. Yeah, I agree. Like I mentioned that earlier. Like Rashee Rice needs to be getting all the snaps at wide receiver. MVS, his snaps need to be coming down for if it means Rashee Rice plays more. Sky Moore, his snaps need to be coming down if Rashee Rice plays more. I think Rice and Ross really just like throw those guys out there, run with them, and you live with the results because they're your highest upside receivers right now. At least you're living and dying by your most talented guys being out there. Like, I'm getting tired of watching MVS go out there and not have a single catch. I'm tired of Sky Moore going out there and having these nothing burger performances and not really doing anything. Kadarius Toney can stay out there and do the gadget stuff. I'm cool with that. Everybody else, though, kind of done watching you. Cash says, we were moving the ball. We just couldn't score in the red zone. Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's reflected in the stats, the fact that Mahomes threw for 300 yards, but you only scored one touchdown. You just got to convert in the red zone, and they likely would have if he didn't throw that awful interception to Justin Simmons. And I went back and I watched that one like 5 times, and I really don't know what he was seeing. I know that he was desperate to get rid of the ball because there was a guy around his ankle, and I think Jonathan Cooper might have gotten a hand on Mahomes' arm or the pass just a little bit, which affected the throw, but still, I mean, it was essentially an arm punt from about 15 yards out from the end zone. Nathan Barnes says, we dog on Sky Moore a lot, rightfully so, but Toney has been a bigger letdown, and we had much higher expectations. The Chiefs had high expectations. Like, okay, the Chiefs were the ones that were pumping this Kadarius Toney propaganda all offseason. They told James Palmer, they told anyone who was willing to listen that they thought Toney could be a wide receiver one. I feel like most of the fan base was pretty skeptical, though. I like Kadarius Toney a lot. I have the dude's jersey. I don't know if I ever expected him to be a wide receiver one, but I had higher hopes for him producing a lot more this year. So far, he really hasn't. But I also think a reason for that is because some of these play calls that they're setting him up with are just not very good. They're setting him up on these plays that just have no blocking, aren't really meant to go anywhere. Kadarius Toney's been one of their better guys at separating this year, getting separation on those routes. He's just not really getting the targets. They're not giving him enough snaps. That's the thing with Kadarius Toney too, is the Chiefs typically don't play him a ton of snaps. And I'm waiting for the day that they get him out there and like have him play like 60% of the offensive snaps in a given night, because I think he's capable of doing that. He's talented enough. He had a few really nice catches tonight, got in the end zone. I feel like the Chiefs play calling and the coaching has failed Kadarius Toney just a little bit this year. Andy Reid even said that at the beginning, like when he had that bad performance against Detroit, saying that, I put him out there too early. Like, he wasn't ready. He missed all of training camp. He was coming off injury. And, Kadarius Toney has been a disappointment by definition. Nathan, you're right. But I think it'll come for him. And that's kind of why I threw him in there with that group of, like, Rashee Rice, Justin Ross, and the guys that need to be getting all the snaps. And MVS and Sky Moore, those guys need to be getting less snaps. If Watson goes on IR, if McColl gets cut, I would like to bring him back. He is definitely better than Richie James. It's interesting you bring that up because Richie James is also on IR. I don't know if he's coming back anytime soon, but that would mean you have 2 receivers on IR and you'd only be carrying 5 of your 7 that you originally had. That could propel them to make a move like get McCall Hardman if he does go on the market. Now, I would hope that this team has their sights set higher than a guy like McCall Hardman for this receiver room, but seems like a Chiefs move. And speaking of Chiefs moves, I know there's a lot of smoke around this team bringing back Frank Clark. And I don't feel like going on that rant right now. I did upload a video shortly before the game tonight addressing the possibility of Frank Clark returning to the Kansas City Chiefs, because Field Yates and ESPN did report that the Broncos will be trading or releasing him, whichever comes first. And a lot of people have been talking about whether or not the Chiefs should bring him back. If you guys want, please go and check out that video after this post game is wrapped up, because I shared my thoughts on that, and I'm sure you guys would like to hear it. GKC says it's vanilla, referring to the offense. Yeah, tonight it was relatively vanilla, but I'm sure the offense feels vanilla because they haven't really been that great this year in most of the games. Some of these concepts that they're running, though, aren't vanilla. It's just the inability for these wide receivers to get open. Like, I'm going to say it again. These guys are not getting open at a consistent enough rate for this offense to reach its full potential. But I think I am going to go ahead and wrap up this post game here, guys. I thought we did pretty good tonight, considering I'm riding solo. I'm tired as hell. It was a long day. But the Chiefs pulled out the win, man, and it was ugly. It's an ugly win, but we're used to it at this point. We're used to the Chiefs winning ugly. We're also used to the Chiefs owning the Denver Broncos. 16 straight wins over the Denver Broncos. They pull out the win. And, yeah, man, I mean, it is what it is. So we're on to next week. The Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and that will be at Arrowhead once again. And then the Chiefs will go on the road to play Denver once more. And then if you can get through that game, being 7-1, then we have the big game versus Miami in Germany. And that's going to be huge. That's going to be a real big test for the offense, because like all these games against these teams like the Chargers and Broncos and Vikings and Jets and yada yada, like you can beat these teams without really having a coherent offense. You need to bring your A game versus the Miami Dolphins. And we're really going to learn about we're going to learn a lot about this team after that Miami Dolphins game. If the receivers go out there and lay an egg, if you lose to the Dolphins by double digits, something like that, like we're going to be having to have a tough conversation about this Kansas City Chiefs team, because by then the offensive struggles will have been going on for far too long. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in tonight to this late post-game show after Thursday Night Football. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. And I will see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!